Hey, what's happening? Welcome in Monday Night Live. Jason Priester, ClemsonTigers.com, part of the Clemson Maven multimedia platform. If you can't take if you can't take how bad the Braves are playing, jump on here with us, man. We'll talk about how bad Clemson played Saturday. We had a halfway point of the season. I don't think it's gone the way anybody expected, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. And on Saturday, man, we got another bye week clunker. It is something that has become a odd trend. Actually going back to 2014, Clemson squeaked out of Syracuse against Syracuse. That squeaked out a win against Syracuse that year. 2015, they barely got by Louisville, 20-17. 2016 was the overtime win over North Carolina State, where Gallman got knocked out and they needed a North Carolina State missed field goal at the end to go to OT and win. 2017, they actually lost up at Syracuse. Whooped Wake in 2018. 2019, same thing, man. 21-20 at North Carolina. 2020 was the COVID season, two bye weeks. I think there was two in 2019 too. But, and then 2021 there was a close win over BC. 2022 a close win over Syracuse, where they had to come back from double digits down, and then Saturday against Wake. Man, it's weird. It's a weird trend, and after 10 years, it's not fluky anymore, man. It's just it's becoming commonplace far more often than not. I don't have any explanation for it. It's just one of those odd trends. If you're a better, never take Clemson to cover the points. If they're favored, don't take them to cover on it when they're heading into a bye week, man. And I took them to cover this week, and I should have known better. I think most people took them to cover this week. Even if they didn't take them to cover, I think most people had Clemson winning rather comfortably. Didn't work out that way. They thought Wake came in with an interesting game plan defensively. Man, they routinely were dropping four guys back into covers. They were dead set on not getting beat over the top. So they were, Clemson was trying to run the ball and take the short to intermediate stuff, and they just couldn't do anything with it. They couldn't run the ball. I thought Wake, kind of maybe might even surprise Clemson by doing some of this, but they did some of the things Syracuse did the week before with the stunts and the twists. It and Clemson's offensive line did not perform well against it, especially in that first half. I think we started to see a transition along that offensive line from Mitchell Mays to true freshman Harris Sewell there at right guard, and then at left tackle, we might also started seeing a trend, from Tristan Lee to Colin Sadler, because Sadler played most of that second half until they got down there in the red zone. So we'll see how it shakes out after the bye week. That would be interesting starting five, though. You'd have a redshirt freshman and a true freshman. But things like the playoff are off the table. You're kind of, while you still got some things left to play for this year, don't get me wrong, you kind of got to get some guys ready for next year too. You want those guys you're going to be relying on that offensive line to be ready. Might as well let them take some lumps this year, but definitely got to do something at right guard, because Mitchell Mays ain't it, man. He just ain't it. I think he only played 9 snaps Saturday, so I'm not the only one seeing it. But Wake Forest dropping that many guys in the coverage, you would think that'd leave you some room to run, right? Wrong. The running game is really struggling, man. Even when it's there, it feels like Will Shipley hits the wrong hole or Phil Moffitt goes down on first contact, man. It's just, the backs don't seem to be playing at the same kind of level they were last year, and point to whatever reason you want to, but they just don't seem to be playing at that kind of level. Shipley doesn't seem to have I don't know if I don't know what it is, but he does not seem to have the field vision right now. He doesn't seem to be seeing the field very well. Like I said, sometimes when it's there, it looks like he hits the wrong hole, or he's not patient enough to let the blocks or to let the lanes open up. It's just always something is off, and I thought Garrett Riley touched on it perfectly today. Too often they're playing with 10 on offense, which means somebody's doing something wrong or busting somewhere, and it's always somebody different. Um, it's always somebody different. You would think when a defense is playing back like that, you're going to run the ball on them, put the ball in your playmakers' hands, let them make some plays out in space, and it's going to bring those coverage guys in, and you can take some shots. Well, they weren't even able to hit the short intermediate stuff. Cade probably had his worst day, maybe as a quarterback ever, according to him, accuracy-wise anyways. That's what he said. He was just off. The whole team looked off, man. It was just, I'm telling you, man, it's just becoming a weird trend on the bye weeks. The whole thing looks off. Defense didn't look off, though. The defense was, I thought, outside of some early tackling issues, that the defense was, it's getting to about where we expected it to be. They've been very assertive, disruptive, dominant over the past 2-3 weeks, particularly up front. The back end of that defense is just playing lights out. Hated to see him give up that late touchdown to Wake Saturday, but man, you had two freshmen in there with Shelton Lewis and Avion Terrell, kind of getting a little beat up at corner. You didn't have Sheridan Jones, you didn't have Nate Wiggins. I mean, it is what it is. But hated to see him give up that late touchdown. But overall, man, it's hard to complain about the way the defense is playing. You can nitpick some things, say the linebackers got to be better in covers, but overall, the tackles for loss are going up. Sacks are going up the past couple of weeks. It looks like the defense is rounding into form, but that offense still got some growing to do. After we seen continued growth for 3-4 weeks in a row, they hit a speed bump Saturday. Heading into this bye week, the question becomes: is it going to be a speed bump, or is it going to be? Is that what we're going to see? We're going to see more of the same going forward. I think this offense is going to go as Cade Klubnik goes. And watching him Saturday, I'm not watching him Saturday and listening to him explain one of them plays today. I'm not convinced they're giving him more than one read. He was talking about Stellato being a decoy on a route today, and he was wide open and he didn't even throw it to him. Now, we won't never know the answer to that, but the way he stares down receivers sometimes makes me wonder if he's only getting one read, and if it's not there, he'd check it down, man. But it was just overall, it was just bad Saturday, man. It was bad. I thought the receivers took a step back. Tyler Brown finally looked like a freshman. Stellato was a non-factor. I thought Bo Collins played well. Outside of that, I thought the receivers took a big step back after playing well the past few weeks. It was just a total discombobulated effort on the offensive side of the ball. Somebody says Brenny played terrible Saturday. Brenny's not played well all year, bro. He is the biggest disappointment for me all season long. You want to know why he only gets targeted in the flats? Because he can't get open down the field. The next tackle that dude breaks is going to be his first, man. Garrett Riley got asked about him today. And he said he kind of jokes with him, but being serious at the same time, you got to play big. If you're big, you got to play big. And I don't think Brenny still plays big. I think his route running leaves a lot to be desired at times. And I thought he was getting better the past couple of weeks, but it's not that much of a marked improvement. And I think that's why they don't ask him to run very many routes down the field. It's all underneath stuff in the flats, and he can't even break a tackle. I mean, Clemson needs more from their tight ends than that. He already got a Jeff Scott comment. Jeff Scott's not going to be coaching until Jeff Scott wants to be coaching, man. I don't know what to tell you other than that. Did I see Riley today ask about is he run? Yes, I was there. I absolutely saw it. Um, Garrett Riley, man, Garrett Riley don't even take this job if he don't get the keys to drive the car. I don't know why people think that he would. That's comical to me. You know, I thought Garrett Riley said a lot today without saying a lot. Um, you know, if you read between the lines on some of the things he said, you could tell he seems a little frustrated. He seems about as frustrated as the fans, and he talked about the inconsistency. I even asked him, was inexperience at key spots a factor? He was having none of that, man. He's like, we 6 games in, you know, nah, we ain't talking about inexperience. He wasn't having any of that. But when he was asked about running, you know, the offense from TCU, you know, I thought he said it plain as he could. You know, he's got who he's got, and he's got to work with what he's got. They're trying to do attack in a lot of the same ways, but they're not able to due to some of the inconsistencies. The feeling like there's only 10 guys on the field when there should be 11 because somebody's already always missing an assignment or busting or doing something wrong, or it's just those type of things. But yeah, I get a kick when people tell me that, you know, this is just the same offense. I mean, if you sit in the stadium, and I don't know how well you can see it on television, but if you're sitting in that stadium, some of the differences are just flat out noticeable. I mean, it's not like there's subtle differences. I mean, there are some subtle differences too, like the spacing along the offensive line. But man, the crossing routes and some of the other routes the receivers run, there's just a lot of different stuff. Some of the formations hadn't been as much motion as I was thinking we'd see, but you know, that's just getting nitpicky. Here it is right here. I want to know what the reason to hire Riley if he's going to call the same plays that Streeter did and Elliott did. He ain't even using the same playbook. I don't know what to tell you. And I'm telling you, it's not the same offense, Tickle Tiger. Y'all can believe that or not, man. I'm you know what? I mean, I get it. People's frustrated and they want to find excuses. It's not the same offense, man. There's some validity to Garrett Riley having never run an offense before without Sonny Dykes. But he did not come here to run Clemson's same offense. That's just not true. Dabo's not calling the plays or handcuffing Garrett Riley and all this. That's just it's nonsense, man. It's nonsense. This the plays aren't even close to what Streeter was calling. Man, I get people get sick of seeing all the screens and stuff. You can't run the ball, man. You got to try to find a way to do something. You can't get guys open down the field. You gotta try something, man. I mean, this is the offensive line can't get a true push. That's a big part of the problem. The offensive line. I thought it played well over the first month, but I think they've kind of regressed the past couple of weeks. They've not played well at all, especially in that first half month. Saturday against Wake Forest, they were not very good. That's a team you should be able to run for more than 40 yards in the first half. Period. You know, I get it. Walker Parks out of he's one of you. He's either your best or your second best offensive lineman. Um, Most experienced guy up there, best on the interior by far. But still, this is a team you should run the ball on. Clemson is the only team I've seen that no receivers are getting open. Every other team you watch, they have receivers running wide open. Well, I've seen some receivers running wide open Saturday, and Klubnik never even looked at them or never saw them. I'm telling you, I don't think he's given. I think he's given one read right now. I'm not sure the coaches fully trust him to read the whole field. That's just a guess on my part. But receivers are open, bro. If you're in the stadium and watching them, they're getting open, man. Troy Stellato was running wide open one time, and K Club never even looked at him. Never even looked at. Didn't even look his way. Again, I didn't think they played their best game by far this past weekend. But receivers have been this theory that receivers don't create any separation, can't get open. Yeah, that ain't what my eyes see. There's windows to throw in. There's guys creating separation, and there's guys getting open. The ball's not getting thrown to them. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying guys are running free in the secondary every other play. I mean, there was another play. Bo Collins was wide open on Saturday, and Klubnik never even looked at him. And it's probably going to be a bomb for a touchdown if he sees him. Never even looked to that side. I tell you, I think they're only giving him one read, and that's it. That's a theory. That's just my feeling. But I'll give you this: they don't have one of those T. Higgins or Justin Rosses or Nuke Hopkins or Mike Williams, a guy that can kind of take over a game and put the offense on his shoulders for a couple of drives when they need something big. They don't have that kind of receiver right now. That's something this offense is sorely lacked since T. Higgins has left. But to say that nobody ever gets open, yeah, I can't go. I can't agree with that. Why in the world so many backups during critical situations? You got a lot of guys injured. I mean, they had 5 DBs out there on that last drive, and Sheridan was out, Nate's out. I think Lucas had come out for something for a minute, so you had to run somebody out there. I know people was up in arms about Hamp Green being on the field for 3 snaps, but your other slot receivers out. The Troy Stellato, who's worked in the slot in the past, has not been working in the slot this year. You're getting thin when you start getting so many people out. And I mean, he was on the field for 3 freaking plays. Hamp Green, I'm talking about. He was on the field for 3 snaps. Well, Tyler Brown had to come off for something, if I'm remembering it right. And then he came right back in, but not like Brown was having a spectacular day either. I mean, heck, I heard something on the radio today when I was driving back home. I can't remember who said it. I can't remember who said it, but it kind of had, it's like when nothing else is working, man, try something different, anything. It was almost like Cade. The one throw they did throw to Hamp Green, it looked like Cade didn't even know he was throwing the ball to. He forgot he's throwing it to the smallest guy on the field. But I mean, again, he's on the field 3 plays. I mean, 3 plays. Toriano and Lucas are really stepping up. Toriano, especially glad to see Toriano do well, even though he was surprised. I thought Toriano played his best game by far Saturday and didn't even know he was going to start till right before the game. He's grown a lot since last year. He talked a bit about that today, how much he's grown since last year. He said the biggest thing is he's just got that confidence now. He's a lot more confident than he was because he was one of those guys that got lit up in Winston-Salem last year. And you could tell he was happy he got to play in this game. He kind of felt it sounded, he didn't come right out and say it, but it kind of sounded like, he kind of had something to prove against this team after the showing those guys had last year, himself included in that, because that was a game where him and Fred Davis and Nate Wiggins and Jaden Lucas just got torched. So I think he felt a little bit of redemption Saturday and was glad he got to play a lot, because he's a guy that hadn't seen the field a whole lot, before Saturday. He's just kind of gotten lost in that shuffle a little bit with the rise of Jaden Lucas now that he's healthy. But yeah, I thought Toriano Bride looked really good, and Lucas has been solid all season. I think he's going to end up being an outstanding corner. Actually, I think both those guys are. On the radio, they saying Wake Forest defense is great. I don't know how great Wake Forest's defense is. Maybe it's a little bit better than I was giving them credit for, but it ain't. I mean, nah, man, that's what happened Saturday is more about Clemson than it is about Wake Forest. I will say this: Syracuse might have, laid a blueprint for how to whip Clemson's offensive line with some of those twists and stunts, because Wake ran some too, and it worked to perfection, man. It confused them. It's like they didn't know it was coming. And if they're going to play those young guys up front, you're probably going to see more of that, confusion. They're going to take some lumps. Bo Collins hasn't been playing as bad as some people think. No, I think that Bo has played mostly well. Sometimes I think his blocking leaves a little bit to be desired. But I think that was even better Saturday. I said it a dozen times going into the season that Bo can be as good as Bo wants to be. He's just got to want it. And it looks like he's starting to want it. What the heck happened to wide receiver you? Oh, man. I could spend the rest of the show talking about that. Most people would tell you it's just because Jeff Scott left. I think it's a little bit deeper than that. Short version. I think NIL has really hurt Clemson when it comes to recruiting wide receivers. Most of those big time guys are demanding big dollar deals, and Clemson's not getting into bidding wars over players. If they come in and the first thing they talk about is money, Clemson's probably going to move on. That's not the guy they want, and that's the way recruiting is taking shape with a lot of those guys. I was not a big fan of the shape that Jeff Scott left the wide receiver room when he left. I thought it was full of bigger body guys, slower guys, 50-50 ball guys, not enough of the smaller, twitchier, faster guys. And a lot of those last guys he brought in ended up being busts. For whatever reason, they just did not produce at the level that was expected or what people thought they were going to be due to their recruiting ranking. I'm talking about guys like Frank Lassen and EJ Williams and heck, I can't remember all of them now, but a lot of those guys have gone on to play elsewhere and still not done anything. I said before the season, I thought this was a big year for Tyler Grisham because I thought those receivers needed to be better. But let's be clear, he's not dealing with the same kind of talent in that room that they had in there 2-3 years ago. The talent is taking a decline. I think NIL's played a part in it. I think they got 2 studs coming in the next class that can be immediate impact guys, but they don't have a guy like they don't have a guy in there right now like Bryant Wesco or DJ Moore. That dynamic guy that can put fear in opposing defensive coordinators. I don't think, no disrespect to any of those guys on that roster, but I don't think no receiver on Clemson's roster right now is keeping defensive coordinators up awake at night the way a T. Higgins would, or a Justin Ross would in his freshman season, or a Nuke Hopkins, or Sammy Watkins, or Martavis Bryant, or Mike Williams. They don't have those guys right now. Hopefully they'll have a couple next year, but they don't have one right now. Who's the next option at tight end? That would be Sage Enos, and you started seeing more of him on the field in the second half, actually, against Wake Forest. We'll see if that is a trend that continues. Because if you're not going to get more than what you've gotten out of Brennan Stool, man, you got to give somebody else opportunity. He's playing way too many snaps to have that little of production. His yards per catch is, I know he's like third on the teams in yards per catch, but I know he's like third on the team in receptions, but his yards per catch is it's actually embarrassing. I mean, not for a tight end that you thought was going to be a middle of the field threat. And heck, over the past 2 weeks, he's had 2 critical drops on third downs. We'll see if they start giving Enos some more looks, but that would be the next guy behind Brennan Stool. Brennan Stool locked up with a guy half his size after catching the ball and couldn't move him an inch. I was shocked. Yeah, no, I wasn't. Not after watching him all the first 5 games. I wasn't. I'm telling you. Um, Biggest disappointment on the offense for me this year. That guy, we all thought he was going to be a focal point, and he outside of one catch, I don't think he's done anything beyond 5 yards down the field. Um, it's just, I don't even think they're asking him to run very many deep routes anymore. I didn't spend a whole lot of time watching him Saturday, but it's been bad. General feeling on Thomas Austin. Uh, you're not going to hear me say Thomas Austin needs to be fired. I like Thomas Austin. I think he's trying to bring in a little bit more nastiness and more size and some more athleticism into that room. And I thought he did that with his first class. Hasn't had much luck in this class. I think, part of that is Clemson's lack of any kind of history of consistently putting linemen into the league, which ain't on him. He hadn't been there coaching them, but that's always going to hurt Clemson until they change that. They started to put a few more into the league, but outside of Jackson Carman, who was a second-round pick, there's really been no high-round picks. They've all been late-round guys or undrafted free agents, so that hurts you. But I think you need to give him some time. I like his vision for the room, what he wants to do with it, but I think he needs a little bit more time. That would be my general feeling on Thomas Austin. I would say it's too early to say it's time to pull the plug. You need to find 5 guys and stick with them. I don't like the rotation. I don't like the rotating them in and out of left tackle, man. Somebody needs to separate themselves, and if they don't, pick one guy and roll with him. We'll see if they do that after the bye week. But I also think losing Walker Parks is big. Again, I don't think the offensive line's played as bad as people made out the first 4 games. I didn't think they played very well at times against Syracuse, and I thought they played like ass in the first half against Wake Forest. But losing Walker Parks is big. It's hard, and if you're going to replace him with a true freshman again, they're going to take some lumps, man. And no amount of coaching is going to overcome that. He's just going to have to get out there and learn on the job. But I think it's too early to start calling for Thomas Austin's job or saying he needs to be fired or run out of town or anything like that. When you're talking about trying to transform a position group, it's going to take more than a season or 2 sometimes. Let's just say general feeling, jury's still out. Telling you this is more of a coaching problem than anything. Well, I get it, man. Everybody's got to blame somebody, but at some point, the players got to go out there and execute, man. All the coaches can only do so much. At some point, the players has got to go out there and execute the game plan. Period. At some point, players have to accept some part of the responsibility. You can't say it's all on coaching and none on the players. You can't say it's all on the players and none on coaching. Sure, I think there's a weak spot or 2 on that staff, probably. I feel like if there is, it'll get addressed. But do I think every coach on that roster sucks? No. I think Clemson's problems are the culmination of a lot of things, kind of snowballing and all taking effect. You got some misses on some guys. Um, way too many injuries. It starts to make you wonder about strength and conditioning. I know the same guy's been running the strength and conditioning department forever, so I don't know that anything's changed. I don't know if it's just a run of bad luck, but they've had a bunch of injuries. Um, everybody wants the quick fix and hey, let's get rid of this coach and we'll fix it. I don't think the problems. I don't think the fixes are that easy. Tyler Brown is going to be that guy soon. Yeah, I love Tyler Brown, but I don't know that what I'm talking about you're going to get from a slot guy. Um, we'll see. I nobody hyped up Tyler Brown more in offseason than I did. I love that guy. I I'm more talking about an outside guy that can, you know, put the team on his shoulders and carry him for a few drives. We've seen Tyler Brown do a little bit of. We'll see. There you go. The plays are the same, but the schemes are but exactly right. There ain't but so many plays, right? I mean, every team don't have their own version of plays. It's how you present them and how you know run things out of them. Yeah, RPO K8 is struggling with at times. Absolutely, they're struggling with the mesh. They're struggling with a lot of stuff, man. It's. I mean, it's the thing that when it really stuck with me today when I heard Garrett Riley say, it's like we're always playing with 10, and it's somebody different every time. It's something I can't get out of my head. It's mind boggling, man. I mean, it's just mind boggling. What is the deal with Randall? He hasn't proved anything that shows me he was a high recruit. I talked to somebody about Adam Randall Saturday night. Adam Randall's had both his knees operated on in the past year. One was ACL surgery, or the past since he got to Clemson. It's been more than a year now. He's had both those knees operated on. I was told when he got to campus, and I watched Adam Randall play in high school. I can tell you he was every bit worthy of the high recruiting ranking he got. That kid was a dog. Um, I was told that he does not have the same look in his eye right now as he did when he got to campus before he got hurt the first time. And just something's off with him. Dabo Sweeney talked about he kind of called him out the other day, talking about how he needs to bring it on every play. His motor needs to run every play. He looks like he's running in quicksand. Um, I'm assuming it's more of a mental thing because it takes some guys. It takes a while. I was talking to somebody who actually tore ACL, and he was talking about how long it took for him to start trusting in that knee again. I don't know if it's got anything to do with that or what was going on with the other knee, but it looks like he's stuck in a rut. And again, like I said, I was told that he does not have the same look in his eye that he did when he got to campus. That he just looks like a different guy. And they saw it all throughout fall camp, and which I had been told that part previously. And that's why he saw Cole Turner play about twice as many snaps as he did against Duke. That should have been the first red flag right there. But yeah, Adam Randall does not even resemble the same guy I watched in high school. It's not. It's a night and day difference. He used to play safety some for Myrtle Beach, and he was as physical as anybody on the field. He was go looking for contact, but he's not like that right now. And I can't answer what the deal is with him. I don't know. I can just tell you he's had both knees operated on, and he don't look like the same guy, that he did pre-injury. Whether he ever gets back to what he was, I guess we just gonna have to wait and see. But he definitely is not there right now. That's why he's not on the field. I know Garrett Riley gave the diplomatic answer about them needing to get him more involved. today, but there's a reason why he's not more involved, and that's because he's a non-factor right now. I'd rather have Ham Green on the field than Adam Randall right now, if you want to get right down to it. Even though they play different spots, I'm just using that as an example because I don't think you're gonna get nothing out of Randall right now. I think Wes is settling in. He's been calling a great D this year. You don't get any complaints out of Wes about Wes Goodwin from me, outside of going prevent before the half against FSU. I like Wes. I think he's done a pretty dang good job while having extremely, extremely big shoes to fill because nobody was ever going to fill Brent Venable's shoes. Nobody's going to live up to that standard. It was set so high. There's only one Brent Venables. You're not going to find another one. So you got to go out and try to find something that's close to it. And I know he's not personality wise, but it's hard to argue with the results they've had on defense this year. It's hard to tell on TV, but I've heard from others who've been in the stadium that wide receivers are in fact getting better separation. I've been saying that for weeks. There's guys open, there's windows to throw in. It's not like guys are just covered up every play. K's just not seeing them. And it's not that he's not seeing them; it's that he don't look at them. That's what makes me think he's only getting one read. That a lot of the times they're telling him where to go with the ball, and if it's not there, hit the check down, man. And that's maybe why he goes to the check down so fast. Because there are guys open, man, that he don't see. There are guys open that he don't see for whatever reason, whether he's only giving one read or he's supposed to scan the whole field. I don't know, but he is not seeing some guys that have been open. That's absolutely true. Cade is no different than Trevor or Sean their first year taking the start. Just that Cade has not clicked yet. I thought he clicked 2 weeks ago, but clearly he's regressing. I don't know if I'd use the word regressing. I hate to say that after just one game. I thought he played fine up in Syracuse, not quite as well as against Florida State, but he played like ass Saturday though, and he even pretty much said that himself. If it becomes where it's another game and another game, then I'll move on to regressing. But hopefully it's just a one game thing and he can get back into that groove because I thought he was playing well. I thought he started playing particularly well against one of those cupcake teams, and then it carried over into Florida State and Syracuse. And I don't think he was quite as good against Syracuse as he was against Florida State, but I thought he was good against Syracuse too, and then he was not good Saturday. Hopefully it was just a anomaly, but we'll see. The jury's still out on that too. Tune in Saturday, Wednesday, 7:00. We usually give out some stuff on Wednesdays. That's what we gave away last Wednesday. Wednesday night, 7:00. Paul Talk, right here, every Wednesday. Does Cade need to speed up his reads? I know he needs to stop staring down receivers. See, that's what I don't know that he's getting more than one. It was just something I was thinking about Saturday watching him play, because he's always just looking at the one guy. He rarely looks off to the second or third. And then again, something he said today makes me wonder whether he's only getting one read. Maybe they don't really have that kind of trust in him yet because we've seen him, take some risk and put the ball into coverage. And I think that's why you didn't see Clemson take any shots Saturday because Wake was steady dropping 4 or 5 guys back into coverage. And if he was going to take shots, he was going to have to throw it into coverage. And I don't think they want him doing that right now. He is not comfortable in reading. In defense recognition, know that the running back has trouble with blocking assignment. He has to be more confident in his passes with velocity. Yeah, I agree. He's not as comfortable as he will be in recognizing, what defensive coordinators are throwing at him. And Shipley Ormoff ain't the greatest in the world at pass pro, that's for sure. So yeah, I think that factors in some of it too. Tyler Brown runs the best routes out of all the receivers. He attacks his routes aggressively and fights for the ball. He brought that with him. Yeah, I agree. He is the best route runner on the team right now. Absolutely. And he's got some explosiveness, something I don't think those other guys have. I'm telling you, people don't believe me when I say it, but Adam Randall had that kind of explosiveness in high school, man. I'm not saying he was this burner with straight line speed, but he was explosive, and he has some burst. But man, it has not translated to the field this year at all. Not pretending to have the answer, but it's disappointing to hear about the 10 guy problem on offense when the entire scheme is supposed to be simplified and designed to give an options to adjust. I agree that's the one thing that stuck out to me today, and I can't shake it. And him saying it's always somebody different. It's not always the same guy. Um, and I think if you step back and go back and watch it, all these games over, and kind of step back logically and take the emotion out of it, you probably see it. Um, particularly up front. I don't think Garrett Riley's been happy with the way the offensive line's played the past couple weeks. I didn't get that impression today, anyway. Think Clemson needs to look at these 3 all-star offensive lineman size, develop them into what you need. These 4 and 5 stars not cut it. Hey, you know what? There's some truth to the fact that there is more talent on the roster at offensive line right now than there ever has been. Um, and they definitely aren't there yet. That's for sure. Some of them, I think Putnam's fine. I think Walker Parks is good. I think Blake Miller's good, but I think some of those younger guys aren't there yet. And if you got one that's not there, it can make all 5 of them look bad. Matter of fact, I think Will Putnam was talking about that today, if I'm remembering right. It only takes one to make all 5 look bad. It seems like just too many times one of them misses an assignment or misses a block, or he blocks the wrong guy or whatever, and the whole thing breaks down and it just goes to crap. But they might end up having to take a couple of those 3-star guys like that this class. And I do know taking guys with more size is something Austin wanted to do when he took the job. He wanted to get bigger. He wanted to bring in more size. And I think you saw that in the last class with Sewell and Owens and Reed. But I also think that those guys are probably a little bit more, They got size and athleticism instead of just prioritizing athleticism over size sometimes. Because I thought previous years, Clemson take those offensive linemen that weigh 275, 280, and have to put a bunch of weight on them after they got to school. Not so much the case since Austin's took over. But they might have to take a couple of those 3 stars this year, like Favor Edwin, who's just started playing high school this year, went and killed it at camp, on the camp circuit during the summer. Never played high school football before, man. Ended up picking offers up from Florida, Alabama, Auburn, and gets one from Clemson the other day. Kids just now started playing high school football this year. We need to bring Caldwell and Brooks back out of retirement, man. I remember everybody wanting Robbie Caldwell gone when he was there. I'll give you Dan Brooks, though. There might not be a better defensive ends coach in the country. I'll give you him. Absolutely. And the coaches need to start naming the problem players, demand more from them, and stop saying we improve or just getting 10 players. Well, that's one thing I don't think you're going to get. As bad as you want it, I don't think you're going to get it. That's just not who he is. Me and you both know that he's not going to throw any players under the bus usually. I'm of the belief that 99% of what Dabo says to us in the media or the fans, he ain't talking to us. He ain't talking to the fans. He's talking to his players. And there's some hidden message behind everything he says. I wholeheartedly believe that. And then you get, that 1% at a time where you'll see some of it, some truth start coming through. Like when he was talking to Stephen A. after the Wake Forest game the other day, and he's flat out saying, we're building it back up. I know you only come out for the big games, but we're building it back up, and you'll be out here soon, or something like that. He knows what they got. He knows what they got. I just don't think you're gonna hear him come out here and start, outing this player and that player. They'll leave that behind closed doors. Dabo hasn't been that kind to Mitchell Mays lately. He would never crucify someone. No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he won't ever, I'm just saying he's never going to throw a play under a bus, man. I asked him about Mitchell Mays after the game Saturday night. He didn't really say nothing. I don't even think he knew he only played 9 snaps or whatever it was. But yeah, I got to watch the film answer. Because I had noticed that he disappeared and I never saw him again. But yeah, there's been times like with Mitchell Mays and he called out Miles Murphy one time for loafing. I mean, he's not something he's gonna make a habit of doing. Seen in around the Tyler Brown against Q's. I'd like to see Brown used kind of like they used Artavis Scott back in 2015. Man, they used him a lot of different ways. Those jet sweeps, just little pop passes or whatever you want to call them. Brown reminds me of Artavis Scott, but with more speed. There's a lot of things you can do with him rather than just throw him the ball out of the slot. I think you can use him in a lot of different ways. Just find different ways to get him the ball out in space and let him do what he does. Absolutely, man. Randall is scared of getting hurt. He doesn't need to be playing football. I didn't never said he was scared of getting hurt. mental can mean a bunch of different things, man. Maybe he don't fully trust those knees yet. There's a lot of things that go into that. Um, it's not for me to tell somebody they shouldn't be playing football, especially a guy coming off uh, surgery on each knee. Within the in his first year on campus. That's slow out of my wheelhouse. Thoughts on how they are going to play Antonio Williams and Tyler Brown together on offense? Surely they have to be on the field for Pat. Yeah, you got to have both those guys on the field. Yeah. I would venture to guess you'll probably start seeing Antonio lined up outside some. Might see instead of Stool, you know, as the fourth guy, you might see both Antonio and Tyler Brown lined up in the slot, one on each side. Um, there's a lot of different ways you could do it, but yeah, you got to get them both on the field at the same time because those are two of your most productive receivers. Um, so yeah, I absolutely see them both being on the field at the same time. This Cornell Powell did not click until his final year. Travion Thompson's final year was his best. Just let Randall take his time, and that needs to be communicated. Absolutely, that guy's talented, man. He had it, and for whatever reason, he's lost it, and he's just got to find it again. I didn't mean to insinuate that he was scared to play football, man. He's just. I've just been told he don't have that look in the same look in his eye right now, and for whatever reason, he's lost it, and he's struggling to find it again. I don't think that means you give up on him. I don't think that means you cut him. I don't think that means you tell him he needs to get out of the sport. Um, I think you stick with him and see if you can bring him through to the other side. Because, you know, he ain't hurting anybody sitting on the sideline right now. Dabo said that Gunn has a chance to win his position back. I would really like to see Gunn get rolling with the kicking. Yeah, Dabo actually said tonight Gunn hadn't, he had said it the other night that he had not kicked in a couple of weeks, but tonight he actually said he hadn't kicked at practice in 3 weeks. If you count up the weeks he mentioned, he's only come out and kicked on game days. He's been dealing with something, some swelling and some soreness. I forgot exactly what he said specifically, but he called it inflammation Saturday. I remember that, but he'll get back. They'll roll it. They'll get him back kicking over the bye week. Probably this week, I would imagine it sounded like from what Dabo was saying today. But I think White's is going to be a guy for right now. We'll see if they give Gunn a shot back out on the field at some point. I mean, you got to at some point, but I think White's is who they're going to roll with now. I mean, that 51-yarder he missed the other day had plenty of leg. He just hooked it a little to the left. If that one he hooked, a couple of the others he's pushed to the left, but he's got to find that happy medium. But he's got the leg. He's got more leg than I thought he had. That's for sure. Who disappointed more in the postseason, Clemson baseball or the Braves? Right now, I'm gonna say the Braves, and I don't even know what the score is, but judging by my phone and some texts I'm getting, it must be bad. At least Clemson put up a fight. Hutter Woods is waiting. I don't. I talked to a kid. Clemson's not going to take a 2024 quarterback, so that's just not going to happen. If they take one, he's going to have to come PWO style. And I know they had a kid there Saturday that they at least talked to him about that option. I don't know if it's going to be realistically one, but the subject was broached. But they're not going to take a 2024 quarterback. They told Blake Hebert they weren't. You know, that's how they got him on board so early. You take one now, and you risk losing him, and that's Garrett Riley's handpicked guy. Not one to pick on Dabo's words like so many fans do, but when he said Brennan Steele has become a complete player, very physical, my jaw hit 2 floors below. Yeah, that sure hasn't translated to games. And I'll leave that right there. I I just hadn't seen it with Brandon Steele, man. I'm saying he's been my biggest disappointment on the offense. What has been wrong with Antonio Williams and they hurt? They hurt. If you watch the Florida State game, I mean, I don't. I thought Nate Wiggins was out for the year. I mean, that's how much pain he was in. He was literally hurt. He was. I know Dabo said those guys were close to playing Saturday. I'm not. I don't know if I'm buying it. I think they were dressed out and going through pregame drills just to mess with Wake, because watching Wake, I mean Nate on the sideline, he still had just a little slight bit of a limp. Antonio had that ankle heavily taped up, but they're both hurt. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them. They're just hurt. I'll be interested to see this team out of the bye week. If we don't see nasty on the O line, don't see progression, I'll be disappointed. Look, man, I think the O line is what it is at this point. You know, some of those guys has got a nasty streak in them. Some of them don't. I think Blake Miller does. I think Harris Sewell does. Um, I'm not sure about the other guys. Well, we'll see about Colin Sadler. I think he might have one too. But I don't know how much when you got that much youth, at 2 spots along the offensive line. I don't know how much progression you're going to see from one game to the next. It might be a season long thing where you just hope they grow by the end of the year. Because again, it only takes one of those guys to screw the whole thing up. Over under how many hits the Braves registered tonight? So there being no hit. Oof, that's bad, huh? CV will make up the difference for 2024. Yeah, they don't feel like they need to take a quarterback in 2024. Because if you look at Cade and how he's progressing, he might be a guy that's here for 4 years. I would bet on that far, far easier than I would betting on him being here just 3 years. That allows them to, you know, let Vizina come along at his own pace, and that's Vizina needs to come along at his own pace because he ain't nowhere near to being ready to be the starter. So if you can allow him to come along at his own pace, you can be ready to take over when Cade leaves, and then you got Hebert after that, assuming you can keep them all there. Vizina seems like a guy that you know ain't gonna transfer out at the first lick of trouble. He seems like a guy that's here to stay. Braves have 0 hits through 5 innings. All right, I say this about the Braves. Major League Baseball needs to do something about their playoff format. It seems like the top seeds, I know them getting that time off is supposed to be a reward, but it seems like it's hurting them more than helping them. Saw it with the Braves and the Dodgers last year. Seeing it again this year, they need to rethink that format and maybe even possibly consider reseeding after that, opening round. Is Dabo leaving Clemson? I don't know where he's going. If he's leaving, I don't know where he's going. I ain't heard anything about him leaving. Is Sapp that far away from being ready with how Brenningstool is playing? I think Sapp still has some developing to do. Yeah. In the perfect world, they want the tight ends to do a lot of things in this offense. It's a hard position to learn. A lot of responsibility to learn. I don't know how far along he is, but judging by how much we've seen him, I just have to assume he's not as far along as people think, or people want him to be quite yet. Tickle Tiger says Miami at night is the turning point. 55 to 59 to nothing. Cristobal doesn't punt. Deshaun did not have an O-line, but Deshaun was confident in his ability to score. He used his legs. Cade has to help his O-line make something. Yeah, I'd like to see. I wouldn't mind seeing him get Cade out of the pocket on some more designed rollouts. I wouldn't mind some more design runs. His legs can be a factor. But he's got to know. He's got to learn. He's got to get the feel for when to take off and when not to take off, and when to make his legs a factor. Let's put it out. He's got to know when, at what point, to make his legs a factor. Especially on some of his own reads, he don't make the right read, and it's just he's still got some growing to do. He is not as far along as a sophomore as Deshaun Watson was. That's absolutely correct. Is Wiggins going to be cleared to play for Miami? I think everybody will be back by Miami. The way it sounds right now, there's still a lot of practices between now and then. They could have a setback, but I think you see Nate back. I think you see Antonio back. I think you see Jalen Phillips back. I missed the first part of Dabo's thing tonight, so I don't know if he addressed Sheridan Jones, but depending on what came of his test, I expect him back. I think all hands will be on deck when they get down to Miami. There are actually Cheez-Its in that box behind. Yep, they still in there. I couldn't remember. They're still. I might better empty them out, huh? Or maybe my wife emptied them out and put something in there to weigh it down. I can't remember. I had to check that out. I'm glad you brought that up. I don't want them to start. You'd think if they was gonna start stinking or something, they would have by now. That's been a long time ago since they played in the Cheez-It Bowl. uh, Cade has speed, but he's not great running the ball. Yeah, I think Cade could be a factor with his legs. I'd like to see him run the ball more. So I would, if he can get some open space, I think he'd be just fine running the ball. He made some things happen with his legs up there in Syracuse. Not so much last week, but if you do it right, he can be a factor in the running game. Don't forget, Wednesday night, 7:00, right back here, Paul Talk Men's Act. We'll have some more free swag to give away there. There's your opportunity for the hat, Tickle Tiger. Brad does Sunday reset every Sunday. I'm gonna be working on some recruiting stuff here during the bye week. Be on the lookout for that. If you got any recruiting questions, now the time to get them in. Not that there's much happening in that regard right now. Wait a minute. Saw one I wanted to get to. South Florence gonna see Cutter Woods this year. You know what, man? I had South Florence game Friday, and their defense is outstanding. I mean, it is. I don't know if I've ever seen that much speed on a high school defense. Their running game is outstanding. They lost their starting running back on the third play of the season, and they got 3 more backs that they can lean on. But I don't know that if they get in a spot where they got to lean on the passing game, I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they got the wide receiver. They lost their top wide receiver to a torn ACL. He's out. And their quarterback is a far cry from Lenore Sellers. He's all right, but he's not nearly as consistent as Lenore's was, and they don't have the same type of playmakers on the outside, especially now that it's actually Lenore's little brother Jaden that's got a torn ACL. He's their top receiver. They average like 100 yards passing a game because they just run it right at you, man, and lean on that defense. So far, it's worked. We'll see if it'll work when they get to the playoffs, though. That'll be a different animal. If somebody can make it throw it, if somebody can force them into having to throw it around and kind of take the run away from them, that's the recipe against South Florence this year. So he did address Sheridan Jones. Yeah, I missed the first part. Dabo said they're still waiting on blood tests for Sheridan Jones. Do you know what is it they're testing for? All I know is what he said Saturday night after the game, that he started having some really bad headaches on the bus ride over to Tiger Walk. And they were so bad he couldn't play, so they were going to send him for some tests. I don't know specifically what they're testing for or anything like that. But it was severe headaches that he was having. No, Burns blew out West Florence. West Florence. Big difference. South Florence. Defending state champions there, brother. If West Side's strength isn't stopping the run, might have a hard time with them Bruins. I'm telling you, that defense is nasty, man. It is nasty. They play one of them three. They use a 3-man front. They got big boys up there along that defensive line. Man, they are nasty on defense. We didn't do the. They got down actually the week before last to Hartsville. I think it was 21-17 or 21-14, and I couldn't find anybody that actually went and watched the game because I wanted somebody to tell me how Hartsville scored 21 on them. South Florence ended up coming back and blowing their doors off in the second half. But that's a good football team. But if you could take the run away from them, I think you got a chance. All right, don't forget, me and Zach right back here Wednesday, 7 p.m. Appreciate everybody tuning in. If you have not done so, don't forget, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. You know, it helps us out tremendously. If you've already done it, we very much appreciate it. Appreciate everybody that tunes in here on Monday nights, man. This is always one of my favorite parts of the week. Like the day I rushed home from up in Clemson, make sure I was back home in time by 7, man. So it's always one of the best days of the week, man. Appreciate all y'all tuning in. Talk at y'all Wednesday. If you don't see you Wednesday, we'll be right back here, same bat time, same bat channel, Monday at 7.